Well, it's good to be back with you guys today. And, our group met for the first time last Sunday night. Had a great group. It was so good to be back together. It's been, we've met during the COVID thing, and but not the whole group. This is the first time in well over a year and a half. I mean, we had almost the whole group there. I think one person was missing, so that was really great. I hope you have been able to get together with your groups, and I hope that it was a great experience getting started. So just what we talked about last week, we're in this series called Launch, and it's about connecting. And so last week we talked about, ways to connect with God, spend time with God. And, and we talked about a lot of things last week, and I just know at the end of it, I remember I said to you guys, I really do think maybe for a start for some, or maybe it's kind of like a restart, if we could just find ourselves or work on thinking about God, thinking about Jesus more, that will help lead you to pursuing more prayer and spending more time with God in prayer, spending more time about learning about who Jesus really is, and work on doing the things that Jesus talked about. But really, it has to start with God and Jesus being in our thoughts. So I hope you made some progress on that this week. So let's turn to kind of what we're talking about this week. So last week was spend time with God. This week we're talking about spending time with others. And we got another really great story about Jesus that Ebony's going to tell us about here in just a second. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit about this story, and then maybe talk a little bit about, well, what can we do as a community, right? As a community of groups, as a church. What can this story teach us? So tell us something.
Thank you, Tim. That was great. Yeah. So this week, as we're talking about spending time with others, the story that is the center of this week's study is the story of the paralyzed man that his friends lowered through the roof. And so as you read through the story together, I want you to look at the different parts of the story that stick out to you. One of the things that's so important in this story is without his community, he would have never gotten to Jesus. And it just talks about the importance of being together, of community, of telling each other stories and understanding each other's needs, and being able to pray for one another, and how that is just an important part of our faith. So I'm excited that this is part of our series that we're discussing together this week. And one of the parts of that story, it is found in Mark chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. And one of the things that is so interesting in this story, and one of the parts I hope you guys are able to flesh out together, is in verse 5. It says, "When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, 'Son, your sins are forgiven.'" And so one thing I look at in that story is that his sins were forgiven because of their faith. It doesn't say because of his faith individually. It says because of the faith of his community. And so I believe he is included in that because of his faith, but also with the faith of his community is why Jesus forgave his sins and then healed him. And so I know personally there have been seasons in my life where I have been too overwhelmed to pray. I have been too overwhelmed to seek God on my own. And I know during those times it has only been my community that has prayed me through to Jesus. And so I understand that story wholeheartedly about what it means for your community to bring you to Jesus, and the wisdom of the community, the prayers of the community, and how important it is. And so I'm so glad that you guys are committed to plugging into your community groups. I know we often think that we don't have the time to do this, but as we talk about spiritual growth and growing in our faith, meeting and building relationships in community is important and imperative to our faith, as you see in the story, and as you'll see throughout the story fleshed out a bit. And one of the things that the story also talks about is mentoring. We talked about he couldn't have gotten to Jesus if it wasn't for his friends. And so I know that along with groups and community, mentoring is something that you are connected and passionate about. And so throughout this week in the story, as these groups study together, what are some things that you want to talk to them about mentoring?
Yeah, well, actually maybe giving you a different way to think about what mentoring really is too. I think we do tend to think that mentoring it's kind of like there's a teacher-student kind of relationship.
Right.
And yeah, I've definitely had those, especially going through college. I had them. But I mean, I've had those people that I look up to, respect, definitely have been mentors. But I'll be honest with you, and I don't know what's the case with you, and those of you out there in groups that are watching this, we've been told so many times, I've been told so many times, find a mentor, somebody who can really walk with you through life and, kind of be that teacher, to you. And I'll be honest with you, I've just never had any luck finding that.
Right.
And I'm not saying they're not out there. And honestly, I've heard stories. Oh, I've been with this mentor we met weekly for 25 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, what, really? How do you do that? I've just never found that personally. And so maybe I had to stretch what my understanding of mentorship was. And for me, my mentors have always been, mostly peers, mostly co-workers, but my closest mentors and friends were guys in college that were young guys wanting to get into ministry just like me. I learned so much from those guys, and so men and women, and so I've just made, I don't know, it's the connections that I've made with people. Some I consider to be more teachers, some friends. I have to have a posture of learning and being willing to listen and be open, right? And not only that, I also realize I'm a mentor to a lot of people too. So with all that said, and I'll let you kind of speak to a little bit to that too. Community groups, that's just one entity where we have a peer group of mentors. Yeah. And it's not student teacher. It's just we're doing life together. And for me, that has been the best teacher in the world, is just doing life together with people who are, doing the same things I'm doing and trying to just live and parent and, work and be faithful to Jesus. So that's what mentoring has been to me.
That's good. And you and I had a conversation about, and like you just said, mentorship at one point seemed so heavy. Like it was, okay, one-on-one, it has to be an hour or 2 hours a week, and I pour into this person. And so we talked about what that shift of 21st century mentoring looked like. And I gave a couple examples of, my daughter has been serving in children's ministry with one of our staff members. And they have conversations about what's going on in my daughter's life, how's school, that type of thing. And I don't even know if the staff member realizes that that is a form of mentorship. She's pouring into my daughter. She sees my daughter. Yeah. She knows what's going on in her world. There is a young man who has been serving our church for 2 years, and our relationship was mostly basically Sundays, but the same thing. I knew what was going on in his world. I prayed for him. I communicate with him, encouraged him. So it's not as formal like it used to be, but I think it is so important as believers that we're intentional about making sure those people around us are feeling seen and known. And seen and known is one of those words I feel like that's gotten so much bigger post-COVID, because so many people have felt invisible. Yeah. And so it's just being intentional about, and we also talked about how this series is really pressing us to slow down. Now that things have ramped up a little bit, we have become instantly overwhelmed again. But this series is reminding us, as we were talking about spending time with God and others, how important it is to reduce stress, is we have to slow down. And helping those around us feel seen and known, praying, God, show me those people in my neighborhood, in my community, at my job, who need someone to see them and build a relationship with them. So I'm excited about this week, as we were last week, just about the importance of what it looks like to build that community and to be that community for people around you. And so as you close your community group today, one of the questions you're going to ask is, or one of the the tasks that you're given is to think of somebody older than you, someone your age and someone younger than you that you can intentionally build a relationship with. Like you said, sometimes you learn from peers, sometimes you learn from people younger or older, to pour into and to receive from. I think making sure that relationship is mutual both ways. And so that will be your assignment this week that you're accountable to. And so as we close, I want you to remember that we grow best through relationships and not hierarchies.
Yeah, and can I add something real quick as we close this out? Man, our time flies so fast when we do these things. It's just like, man, it's already time to quit. I would add this, There is a passage, and it talks about in this session too, that in Galatians, where Paul says to bear one another's burdens.
Yes.
And honestly, that is one of the beauties of community and having spiritual friends. We need friends.
Right.
We need family, but having spiritual family, spiritual friends, that also helps connect us to God and to Jesus. And so in your groups, I hope even if you're new to the group, over time you find that together, when you come together, you get more comfortable sharing your life with them. And you truly do bear one another's burdens. When you have babies, everybody does. When you're going through a loss of a loved one, everyone suffers with you. And I think of one particular group right now has had 2 or 3 parents have been lost just recently in that group. And so they're going through a really hard time. But you know what? They're doing it together, and they're going to be okay. So anyway, community, it's worth it. It's so important.
It is. It's important. So enjoy your time getting to know each other and talking about through the text and how spending time with others is helping you grow in your relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
So
see you next time.
Bye.